the final story here, I'm so excited because I don't know if I talked about this a lot on the show, but I'm a big Cardanian, Cardanite, the Cardano ecosystem for cryptocurrencies, because they're essentially a nerd chain. If you ever wanted a blockchain built through first principles, peer reviewed studies, doing everything the hard way, formal verification, this is the chain, right? There's not a lot of chains like this. This is the chain. So Charles Hoskinson, who is a, let's call it, polarizing figure. His attitude when it comes to financial markets is very philosophical. Instead of coming online and just plugging the chain and getting VC money and getting the money pump going, he doesn't do any of that. If anything, he's a big anchor on the, or to other people, a big anchor on the Cardano. On the Cardano blockchain, because he's so political. He's such a polarizing figure with his views. And so the Cardano price has been pretty subdued, right? Which is fine for me, because that's what I like. I like the idea that I want a cryptocurrency where most of the price is not because of hype. Let me ask you, other than me like jam around about it all the time, do you hear people talk about Cardano?
For sure. But I think most of the people I talk to about Cardano, at least in my inner circles, are all traders. And it usually comes down to the performance of whatever market cap asset they're following and whether its performance is better than another altcoin at the moment. I find the connection to the strength of the project and the actual performance of the crypto to be pretty uncorrelated in the crypto space. So it's the vote for whether the project is solid is usually an interesting conversation, but it's usually one that's more of a technical conversation, like the one you're starting here. So I think what I hear, at least within my inner circle, is more about how well is the price jumping, right?
Exactly. Well, so the price has skyrocketed recently. Let me just show this beautiful, beautiful chart. And the idea here is that what's interesting about it is that not only has the price gone up, what's the performance here? We have a 70% in a week, 170% in a month, 100% in 6 months. What I find fascinating about it is that it didn't start moving, the price didn't start moving based on liquidity, which is what we saw with a bunch of the hype meme coins, right? Pepe exploded, SHIB exploded, Doge exploded because of the memeness of it. Cardano doesn't have any meme hype to it. And so it started exploding. And once it started to come out, that it looks like Charles Hoskinson is in talks with policymakers in the new Trump administration for helping to generate the legal framework for how crypto will be represented within the financial system over the next number of years, even beyond the Donald Trump administration, which is what I've been waiting for years. I mean, not the Donald Trump administration, but for people to turn to Cardano and to Charles specifically as a voice of reason, as someone, as a blockchain that wants the entire crypto ecosystem to thrive, and who have developed tools, identification tools, tracking tools, identity tools within the network that have been inspiring to other chains, but no one has really paid attention to it because number wasn't going up. Mm-hmm. And now that he's out there talking and people are realizing, hey, wait a second, the Elon Musks of the world who want to send rockets to Mars, the Vivek Ramaswamy's who is perfectly willing to work at a efficiency agency called Doge in order to bring down spending of the government, for the idea of who knows what they might do with transparency for voting and for government transactions if they're going to put that on a blockchain at all. I see Cardano as like very well placed to perhaps be the tool that's used by the U.S. government to, even if it's just a template, even if they just fork the platform, as the thing to use. I mean, the only other chain I guess I would even think about for that is Polkadot, as far as my knowledge of the chains are concerned. But we also have Charles Hoskinson, who is a reborn founding father in his thinking, very libertarian, very Ron Paul-esque, very sound money sort of thinking. And so you have the right philosophy with the right technology at the exact right time. And so I've been holding on to my Cardano. I've been talking about Cardano. I don't really go for any of the hype meme coins anymore. My days of Safe Moon and Elon token are pretty gone, pretty much behind me. And I've been waiting for something like this where people go, hey, wait a second. This could actually be something that these crazy Republicans that are now going into office might glom onto and promote and support. So I'm pretty excited about that.
So I want to draw some comparisons here, because I think largely the way that I think about the crypto market is, again, around its performance overall. In absolute terms relative to the other cryptos. So this is an old chart that I had put together. I haven't even looked at in a while, largely tracking the performance of cryptos during the SBF, FTX collapse, and then ultimately the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, or the SEC, trying to take action specifically against tokens that they believed were securities. And I have this kind of mapped out on the chart here, and the impact that it had on the market at that time, because it was like a serious drawdown in the overall market. And then the question was, which of these coins are going to make it out alive during this era? Now, what I find interesting is right about that point where the SEC had issued their statements, one of the biggest winners of all of this was Solana. Mm-hmm. If you've been in Solana since that point, you're up almost 2,500%. And I think some of the recent uptick in performance is, just in these last few months here for some of the other altcoins. So as I zoom in, let's just say the last year of performance, Solana is still looking fantastic at 343%. ADA's down at 150, 158. So if there's any potential for ADA's run here to catch up with some of the better performers, including the top performer being Doge at almost 432% in the last year, that would be pretty impressive. And it's definitely a momentum question, right? Of all of the pairs that could catch up to the performance over the last year, there's some pretty big ones down there that are worth taking a look at, like Ethereum, Graph Relay token, Algo's in the list. And I had a few others that were the top 30 by market cap all the way back in 2022. And I'm sure this market cap list has changed. There's probably some other, tokens to consider in this list, but I do find it pretty interesting that over this period of time, the participants or the best performing coins really are the ones that, there's a couple here in that list that were targeted as securities that I've labeled in red here that are actually performing quite well. Solana being the best one since that point. NEAR is in that list. ADA is in that list. Cardano was considered a security by the SEC. These are the specific tokens that the SEC had targeted at that point.
I love this. This is exactly the type of chart I like. Share that with me when you get a chance.
Yeah, sure.
So this is when it comes to the cryptocurrencies, I'm very hesitant to consider performance. My issue is that there are if I needed performance, if I wanted number go up, I would not even deal with any layer ones. I'd be in the meme coin market, the hype coin market, making 10,000x like I was doing back in the last cycle. If you want to hunt down all these different things, you put money on a bunch of these different places. You see where the hype is going. 90% of the stuff doesn't pan out. 10% of the stuff, 9% of the stuff gives you some money back, and 1% is a home run, and then you're happy. You pay for your salary for the year. Okay, that's one way of going about it. Hard to reproduce. Can't do anything about that during a bear market. Not really interested in doing that anymore. And so when I see Solana, look, I don't want to go too deep into Solana because I've tried to convince myself to buy more of it. I really wanted to, because you see the number go up and all these people inside of it and VC money there and a bunch of names that I find interesting, if not respectable. I go, okay, maybe I want to be part of that too. I do have FOMO. My whole life is FOMO. And so, okay, I wanted to buy Solana. But every time I look into it, it's shadier and shadier and shadier and shadier. The transactions, how so much of the transactions are consensus mechanism. It's just a consensus vote. So the transaction volume looks like it's higher than it should be. The focus on transactions per second, the cost it takes to spin up a node and run a node, like the decentralized aspect of it, the fact that it's basically a meme coin chain. I mean, what assets, what projects are you seeing on Solana that are, or do you see any projects on Solana that are like, oh my god, this actually would be revolutionary, or this would be a killer app, this would change the world, this would be, or even be useful in a week to week, day to day thing? Are you seeing anything like that?
It's never really been that interesting to me. I don't really care personally about the projects themselves because they don't matter. For the longest time, Litecoin was an abandoned project. Doge was just a joke. Shiba Inu wasn't really doing anything all that important. There are dozens of cryptos that don't really have legitimate projects behind them, and in some cases they're just complete memes that have still amassed enormous market caps once you've calculated in their price. I truly believe, and I'm sure I'm going to get some hate for this, but the whole crypto market is largely just a priced market. There's nothing that truly connects the market price to the underlying value of the project, because you can't really value cryptocurrencies, not in the same way that we value traditional equities. In equities, we can actually forecast the future earnings of a company and relate the price of the company to its forecasted earnings. But in crypto, there's nothing to do here except for measure where the price is, where we think it's going to go, and basically trade the momentum of that asset class. So when I look at the performance of the returns on these projects, I'm less interested in the backing of the project, its state, whether it's a scam or not. Well, obviously, if it's a scam, that's concerning. I don't want to be rug pulled. But the real question often comes down to, is there enough momentum and liquidity in the market to keep pushing the price up?
So that's exactly it. And we got a thank you here. Peter says the translation for this says, "Good evening. I'm from Brazil and I follow your channel because of the confluence indicator.
Nice.
I'm still testing it, but I believe you have the best strategies. Congratulations."
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here, Claudio.
So what you said is exactly right. So market cap, I could care less about it. I couldn't care less about it for cryptocurrency because it's just the number of tokens that are issued in these mysterious ways times the latest price. It doesn't mean you can actually sell all your assets for all your tokens for that price if you needed to, if you had some large amount. And if some large players wanted to get out, then it would crash the price. So I don't care about market cap. I don't care about recent performance, because how do you look at a coin that goes up 1,000%, and then compare that to another one that goes up 200%, and compare that to another one that goes, it's like, all right, so then it's like luck, like it's whatever you ended up lucky to get into.
Exactly. That's why I think of crypto as a momentum strategy. I'm never buying one crypto versus another. I buy a basket of all the ones that are currently performing. I go long the ones that are performing, and I go short the ones that are underperforming. That's just a classic momentum strategy. The backing behind the project is irrelevant to me. I like this question that TJ put in here. What about forecasting future on-chain volume? I think that those are great indicators for liquidity as well as price action. And ultimately, those are the two things that we can rely on if we're looking at these. This entire asset class is basically just a tradable asset class. If the whole thing is one big momentum strategy, then things like on-chain volume are important from an analysis perspective or ranking perspective. Like, which coins am I going to put towards the top here as I build the basket of cryptos that I want to trade?
And because I like risk so much, I much prefer just to have a leverage play on Bitcoin than have to worry about which ones have a better narrative or story or hype or anything like that. That's why I really can't get behind this Solana bandwagon. But for Cardano, I go, okay, what coins do I want to purchase? Do I want to hold? That'd be fine if it went down to a penny. Like, what would I be okay with? What network do I want to participate in that even if I could never get out of this thing, it would be fine? It's sort of like buying, when I buy Back to the Future memorabilia. Like, I I'm not looking to. I don't care this resale value of it. I like being part of the thing, and I like owning it, and I like being part of the community. And so for Cardano, I go. I love the liquid staking. I love the projects that are built on it. I love the focus on identity, on the technology, like how they develop the technology, the things that you can build now, that you can build in the future. And I go, it's the world I sort of want to live in. I want to live in Cardano land,
I see
and
what you mean.
so I want to hold that.
And I love this viewpoint. I really do. It's what I thought would matter years ago. And I think I'm going to go ahead and say I'm like an old school thinker when it comes to crypto, because I came from traditional markets and started to get involved in trading crypto and building quant strategies in this space in 2016, 2017. The fascinating thing to me initially was, how can I leverage a lot of my original understanding? How can we estimate and forecast future value? And it seemed really, really difficult to do. I could not find any real correlations there to the project itself. It's largely why I abandoned it and just focused on price. That said, I always wanted there to be a connection between the two, because that feels more appropriate, in the same way that equity performance is the same thing. If a company underperforms from a net profitability perspective, its price will start to deteriorate over time, right? And unless you're Michael Saylor and you're, issuing bonds on Bitcoin, totally different situation. But if you're not earning as much money, you don't do as well in the price, and eventually the price will catch up with your earnings potential. So as a value investor, it's like one of the easiest things to understand. I want to buy companies that are undervalued. Their book value or their intrinsic value is greater than their current market price. But there's just no way to do that in crypto. However, if what you're saying is eventually true, where participant involvement in the project, use of the coin becomes a direct corollary to the market price, that becomes a much more interesting asset class from a fundamentals perspective. I have just always struggled to figure out what the fundamentals in crypto are.
That's right. And so I completely accept the idea that because of the nature of this new asset, we're not going to be able to easily put it into a bucket of something that we have there already. Well, people make the argument: is it currency? Is it does it store value? What is it? But when I see use cases like how the mortgage company I was telling you about before, where they're using it as a collateral, or they're using it as a way of counterbalancing the risk, so that I can imagine someone has a cryptocurrency offsetting a loan, or stuff like I see in Cardano, where you can do these microloans. So let's say I wanted to loan out some money to my son. I can do that with the crypto space, and use the crypto would facilitate that through a smart contract that I can actually write myself, or have a third party do it for me. I like stuff like that, and I really enjoy that. I love the idea of I do a lot of work on Fiverr, and they're holding the money. Fiverr's holding the money in escrow and then pays out or whatever when the contract is done. But I'd rather that be peer to peer, right? And where the money is in a smart contract, and that, let's say there's some Oracle system or some third party thing that unlocks the funds. I would love for that to be in the crypto space. So I could see how it's hard for us to value what should it be valued at. And so the only thing I really take a look at is how much hype is there qualitatively. How much hype is there for this token? And if I get any sense whatsoever that part of this price is hype, I have no interest in participating inside of it. I need good technology, and Cardano has been so hated within the crypto space. It's a top 10. It's a top 7 now for market cap for non-stable coins. Top 7, and has no hype. None. No one's sitting there hoping for oh my God, Cardano's going to hit $5. No one's really sitting around on mass scale buying it for that. There's not a huge amount of leverage inside of the system. So I go, okay, when I was at 30 cents during the bear market, I go, then it's 30 cents. People can sell it hard enough.
I think what people tend to like too is any of the, and this is somewhat of a misconception because of how fractional you can get with crypto, but anytime the coin is under $1, I think people get pretty excited. I know people were very excited about Doge being priced at one 100,000, millionth of 1 penny. I can't remember where you say that.
Yeah.
The point is it's 0.00000001 of 1 penny, and people thought that was great because it's a very low price point. Even a 1 tick increase in the price would be a huge increase in value. I totally understand that. And so I think from that perspective, Cardano looks attractive, but I just don't know where that particular facet or property of the crypto translates to overall price action at the end of the day.
Agreed.
That said, ADA is moving at the moment, so it is an interesting one to keep an eye on. It's in the momentum list, and I would definitely throw it in the basket of cryptos if I wasn't currently just focus on the top 5 and I'm about to exit all those positions.
Yeah. Just the final thing I want to say on that is that it is moving now. Cardano is moving now, and clearly it's moving because of hype, right? People are excited that he's in the news and he's talking to the administration, blah, blah, blah. It's for hype. But the hype is based around policy and legislative acts. And so I that's the kind of hype I can get behind, as opposed to they put a P in front of Elon and turn that into a meme coin. They go, this is the new meme coin. Like, that's not the hype we're having here. Or SafeMoon, SafeMoon, which is the classic example of this coin. Let's go to the moon. Let's go to the moon safely, which makes no sense. The hype here is all based around, hey, this is a pretty secure blockchain, and do focus on fundamentals, and maybe Elon will take shout it out or whatever. And so this is the type of hype I can actually get behind. So I'm very excited. Yeah.
I understand.